Hello once again, and this is the coin collecting for beginners. And to start off, as always, I want to mention that at this point I noticed that about 85% of those who have seen my videos have not subscribed, and of course I definitely encourage people to subscribe, and of course make sure that when you subscribe that you also ring the bell. So we get to go to part two of ships on coins, one of the more popular subjects for putting on coins. And in fact, for almost as long as coins have existed, there have been ships on coins. Going back 2,000 years ago, when you flipped a coin in ancient Rome, instead of saying heads or tails, you said Caesars or ships. So the first coin I want to show today, as you can see, is from the Cayman Islands. Many people think of the Cayman Islands as a place, of course, to hide your money from greedy tax collectors. It is a relatively new country, splitting off from Jamaica in 1962. This Cayman quarter, as you can probably guess, being in a quarter size coin holder, is around the same size as the U.S. and Canadian quarter. In fact, it's about halfway between the size of a U.S. and Canadian quarter. And also, the U.S. dollar readily circulates in the Cayman Islands, so there's no big surprise that a fair number of these Cayman quarters do make their way into the U.S. and Canada. And collectors, I've noticed that collectors listed on the Numista page, very large number of American and Canadian collectors actually have an example of one of these coins already. This one, in fact, I found in a roll of Canadian quarters about 10 years ago. If I was still in Canada, I am quite certain that I would have a lot more of these, more of these particular coins. Now, the ship, by the way, wish I could tell you much more about it, but apparently it's called the Kirk B, but I'm not able to find any information as to what the story of the Kirk B is, or who it was named after, or anything like that. Canadian collectors might look at this ship and notice that it is kind of similar in appearance to the famous Blue Nose that is the ship seen on the Canadian dime, more or less. Now, the next ship is quite different. This is the country of Cyprus. Now, Cyprus has this same ship on two versions of this coin. This is the older one made of copper. As copper got expensive, they reverted to the use of aluminum. So this coin here is what is referred to as a galley, Roman galley. It does not have a particular name. It's simply a hypothetical ancient Roman ship. Ships like these sailed on the Mediterranean, carrying all types of goods, including copper from Cyprus. This ship had a square sail, and the ones used in the Roman Navy also had rowers in it for faster speed when the wind wasn't blowing as hard as they would like. But anyway, that's the Roman ship, Roman galley. I'll mention a little bit more about Roman ships later on. Now the next one is a coin you've probably seen before. This one is from the British halfpenny. Now, I did in a previous video refer to this as the Cutty Sark, and it is not the Cutty Sark, of course. It is the Golden Hind. And this ship was, of course, the one used by Sir Francis Drake. I do talk a bit more about Sir Francis Drake in the first video I made of coins with ships. So if you haven't checked that one out, please check that one out for a little more of info on Sir Francis Drake and the Golden Hind. Next, we have some Greek ships. First one here, found on the drachma and also the €2 cent coin. This particular ship is called a Corvette. It's a rather small-sized warship. Fortunately, the Euro one doesn't get you a very good picture there, but let's look at the Drachma, though. It's a nice, clear picture, and this is the Corvette. This particular style of Corvette was used in the Greek War of Independence that raged from 1821 to 1832. After about 400 years of Ottoman occupation, the Greeks finally booted them out of Greek territory. The same Corvette, as I mentioned, is also on the 2 euro, so it continues to be an important symbol of Greek independence. And talking about the conflict between Greek and the Ottomans, some would argue that the war between Greece and Turkey, even today, continues, as they still don't get along very well. In fact, when I lived in Toronto, which is Canada's biggest city, I lived there in 1987, some trouble flared up between Greece and Turkey, and many members of Toronto's Greek community prepared to fly back to Greece to join the army or the navy. But fortunately for everybody, things cooled down and there never was a call to war, call to arms. Now, next though, is another example of the Roman warship. This is called a trireme. This one doesn't have big guns, of course. Like the ships at the time didn't have the big guns. That technology did not yet exist at the time. The way this ship sank enemy ships is that on the prow, you might be able to see it on the left side of this on this picture, has a metal tip just under the water level, and it would charge the ship at enemy ships, puncture a hole in it, and hopefully sink it. The ships, of course, would have had free men as the rowers, not slaves or prisoners like what you may have seen in the movie Ben-Hur, if you remember that particular situation. Once again, Hollywood got it wrong, but there it is, a Roman trireme, and I don't know how many rowers they had, but it's called a trireme because apparently there were 3 levels of rowers in it. So once you got all the rowers going at the same speed, this ship could move pretty fast. Israel likes to use images of their ancient coins on modern coins, so here is a small Roman galley, rather stylized version of one, came from an old Israeli coin from about 2,000 years ago. And so this is a modern reproduction of it on a, what is this? This is a 10 shekel. That's what that is, a 10 shekel from Israel. And again, very stylized. Now, the next one is from Italy. This one, you probably may have seen before. It had the allegorical figure that I showed in a previous video on female allegorical figures. But on the other side, we got not 1, not 2, but 3 different ships on the back. The ships are the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. I'm guessing many of you probably know what those ships are associated with. Yeah, by the way, love him or hate him, Christopher Columbus is still a hero to most Italians, even though he actually worked for Spain, and he claimed the New World for Spain, not Italy. But, of course, Christopher Columbus was originally Italian, coming from the city of Genoa, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the last ones here on ships on the coins from Kuwait. There's that one's kind of small. Let's see. Let's get the better picture here. Guess I better just go with the biggest denomination. There it is. Yeah, you can see all 6 denominations of the Kuwaiti coins have a picture of this ship on one side. You can see two angled masts on it. This ship is known as a dhow, D-H-O-W. It's a very important symbol of Kuwait, much like the golden hind for England or galleons for Spain. And this particular dhow is referred to is a more it's a more modern version of the bagla. It's referred to as a boom. This particular ship, yes, BOOM or BOUM. It's again looks very similar to the older bagla ship, though the boom is lighter and easier to maneuver and has become the more popular ship to use out of Kuwait and from the Persian Gulf into the Arabian Sea. The bagla that this was based on was one of the types of dhows that could sail in the high seas, like out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Many of the other dhows stayed close to shore. The bagla are also infamous as the ship of choice of slave traders that sailed from the slave markets of Zanzibar, which is now part of Tanzania. They are also the ship of choice of pirates who terrorized the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean. Now, of course, the pirates terrorize in the Indian Ocean using small motorized craft and AK-47s rather than bows and arrows. In Kuwait today, shipwrights, shipbuilders that is, still build the handmade dhows, but it is a dying art. In an oil-rich country like Kuwait, with so many other job opportunities, few people take up the art of shipbuilding, and there is, of course, a very real fear that this art may be lost as fewer and fewer people want to take it up. So, if you have any questions, or you can post them in the comments. If you have any suggestions for other coins or coin subjects I should look at, please let me know. And I thank you very much for watching.